Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Brains Behind the Business. I am Courtney, the CMO at Accomplishr. And today's guest is somebody who brings a truly unique blend of strategy, soul, and systems to the table. I'm talking with Jose Rodriguez, the founder of Raven Maite, a company that helps entrepreneurs and business leaders uncover the hidden problems in their leadership, operations, and sales so that they can grow without burning out. His approach is anything but traditional, as you guys will hear as we go through his conversation. He has a background that spans military service, brand development, and psychedelic integration, which I'm definitely interested to hear more about. And he helps professionals tap into their deeper personal growth and lasting transformation. So we are going to talk with Jose today about how Raven Maite can help clients break through what creates a truly aligned collaboration and how he is using Accomplishr to share his wisdom and connect with people. So, Jose, I will let you kick it off. Do you want to tell us about yourself, Raven Maite, and the type of businesses you typically work with, and then how you help folks identify with and solve their hidden problems in their leadership, systems, and sales?
Absolutely. So a little bit about me you mentioned was I was in the military. And part of being in the military, you get to see different leadership roles and leaders along the way. Some good ones and some that need some work. So that was always the case when I left the military. I joined different businesses. However, when I was working for those businesses, they always saw me as a number. They always saw me as somebody that can help them increase their revenue, get their business up. But they never truly care about my own dreams, my own goals, what was going on in my own life. So I usually lasted about a year or so in each company until I decided to create my own. That's when I went into psychedelics. I got certified as a psychedelic facilitator. I used to do medicine with medicine people, elders, but then as things were changing, the Westerners introduced that you had to be licensed in order to facilitate. So I took that route. However, I saw things that I didn't like in that industry, which led me to become a consultant and a business coach to help businesses change the mindset of their leaders to focus on a more supportive environment for the employees. As you know, when employees go home and they go to work, when employees go to work, their nervous system is always activated if they're not supported properly. And when they go home, they take that with them. And so they start seeing this environment as an environment that is not supporting them, that is not supporting their dreams, they're not supporting their goals, it's not supporting their health. And so they start looking for other jobs, as well as their families, their home starts getting affected by it. So then my system is I create a system where business owners and team leaders start focusing on how we can benefit the employee, how we can support them. Because when I noticed is going back to the military, it's like I had a leader that used to care about who I was, used to care about what I do. We used to care about my dreams. Even though I was still working with the military, anytime he would ask me to do something for him that was outside of my working hours, or even just go the extra mile, I would do it because I felt cared for. And that's something that businesses need to do. They need to care for their employees. They need to care for their team members. They need to know what their dreams are. They need to know what their goals are. Things that are happening at home, that's going to affect your business no matter what. So it's about understanding, like, okay, if I have this employee and I need this person to work in a way that's going to benefit my own business, I need to make sure that they are doing good at home, that financially they're also doing good. So I need to educate them financially. How is their nervous system? How is their mental state? What do they need in order for them to, when they come to work, they're 100% present? That's going to benefit me and my business as well. That's a little bit about my background.
Okay, so I have two questions.
Yes.
First one is, for the uninitiated, can you explain psychedelics and psychedelic integrations? Because I have a vague idea, but not super in-depth understanding. And then my next follow-up question is, you talk a lot about business leaders and all of that. Is this also, are your services something that like an entrepreneur could, and a solopreneur can also like implement? Because especially for solopreneurs, like they're doing it all. They're wearing 97 hats, and it can be very hard to shut the door between work life and personal life when all of that is happening in the same space. And then the burnout can be especially real for them. So psychedelic integration, what is that? And then a little bit about solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, all that.
Absolutely. So psychedelic integration is somebody that, for example, people go and take medicine, whether it's South America or they go to the clinic to do ketamine. When they go home, there's a lot of things that they have to process and understand. They need somebody that can be there for them to ask them questions. This after they took the medicine.
Okay.
Right?
So you're not prescribing, you're just kind of the post medication or the post supplement or whatever we're going to call it support system.
Yeah. And I used to be that. And like I said, so what happened with me is, I don't want to get too much into detail, but certain people within that industry started seeing it as a money-making machine. They pushed away indigenous people. They pushed away the medicine keepers. They took their knowledge, or trying to take their knowledge, and let it become something that the medicine keepers don't want it to be. So when I saw that, that's when I left. I was like, I don't want to be part of this, because, I mean, yeah, that's like another conversation. But however, that movement, which has a lot of good intentions, it also has people and organizations that are doing it for the wrong reasons. So that's when I left that movement. I took the understandings from the Westerners. I took that with me to be able to facilitate a whole space, not just for medicine, but in general. Okay. So when it comes to solopreneurs and how can they use my services, absolutely. When we're talking about leaders, that's anybody. That can be a business owner, that can be a team leader, that can be a solopreneur. So I used to be a solopreneur until I noticed that my threshold of how much I can do had reached its limit, and that was just fighting against water. That's when a lot of people get burnt out. But we are so afraid of taking that next decision on, we need to hire somebody. But then how do we hire somebody if we don't have money?
Right.
How do I make more money if I don't have the time to get more clients? So it's like it's a wheel that happens, that spins in people's head. So what I can do with them is I can show them that in order for them to grow, they have to hire somebody. In order for them to hire somebody, there's different possibilities on how you can hire somebody. You don't have to hire them as a W-2. You can hire. So I provide different options for them to see an opening in the door. And once they see that, they can take that step into it.
And then you stay with them, kind of like supporting them, through that journey, making sure they don't, because I think that those things too, they can become overwhelming. Like once they do it, you take the leap and then it's like, oh gosh, what did I do? What have I done? Like, was this still the right decision? So kind of making sure you're still there with them so they don't backtrack. And like, I know so many people who just they're like, forget it. I didn't mean it. Like, go back to where I was. Because it can be so scary to take that next step. And it's like the one step backwards to take two steps forward type of thing. Like you take a little bit of hit in your income. You take a little bit more on because you have to train somebody. But then once it's all like smoothed out, it opens so many possibilities. And it's like, oh my gosh, okay, like now I'm back on track. So you're helping them through that too, right?
Yeah. And I have seen that in order for somebody to make that leap, just even take action, it takes about a month, because there's a lot of, again, that nervous system, those conversations that are happening in their subconscious that they're always playing around. So when I work with somebody, for a minimum of 3 months. It has to be. So I can support them throughout, because it's not only making a decision, it's also what stories are coming up. Where are those stories coming from? How can we change those stories in order for you to become the person that you want to become? And so it's a whole process, but it's beautiful once people see that those decisions or those fears that were stopping them were actually indications or where they needed to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it sounds like you take a really holistic approach to everything where it's not just like, just look at the numbers or like, just talk about how you're feeling. It's like, no, it all has to come together and make sense across the board, which is something that I think a lot of people can be missing. They either try to only lead with their head or only lead with their gut. And you have to be able to like trust both. So yeah, it sounds like you're definitely in a position to like help a ton of people.
Absolutely. And something that you said, it was like, so in the beginning I was very spiritual and I still am, but I used to go towards the spiritual side of helping people, like psychedelics or working with the somatic nervous system or working with subconscious work. However, where I saw my lack was in business, that logical part of it. Like, okay, how can I share my gifts if I don't know how to grow my business? And I have seen that a lot until I understand like, okay, I need to unite the spiritual side with the numbers because they both go hand in hand. But the way I approach it is like my foundation, it is my spirituality always. And then I just add the strategies from like businesses and my mentors that I have.
Yeah. And that makes sense because you can't have, as much as we all want to be able to say like everything can exist on good vibes, at the end of the day, we have bills to pay. And unfortunately, like the bank will not accept like my good wishes to pay my mortgage. Unfortunately, wish they would, but we need money to make the world go around.
We do.
Alrighty. So if you kind of get a little bit of like insider knowledge here, if you had an entrepreneur or a leader who was coming to you and they were just feeling stuck and overwhelmed and they were kind of, at the beginning of this process and they're like, something needs to change. I don't know what it is, but something's got to change. What is one common mindset shift or tactical move that you've seen before that kind of like really gets the ball rolling to start creating the momentum for people to be like, okay, I can feel myself like getting unstuck, or I can see where I'll be unstuck down the line.
And this is not new knowledge. I think a lot of people implement this is having targets, having goals. But what happens is we have big goals, big dreams. And sometimes those big dreams create room for us to be very afraid. How do we get there? What do we need to do? All those questions that are just going to become so big that it just puts a stop on taking action. So what I do with people is, what are your goals? Like, give me some big ones. From there, then this is where I implement numbers. It's like, okay, what do you need to do to get there? Like, what are some steps? But as well, how much money do you need to make in order for you to get to where you need to be? Once they have given me numbers with smaller targets, we start breaking them down in a way that they see the steps they need to take as well as they see numbers. So for example, I'll give you an example. I work with salespeople. Like, okay, I need to make 100K in the next 5-6 months. For some people, that's like, okay, how do I make that? That's a lot of money. So once you have that, it's like, okay, we need to make 100K. We have 6 months. What do you have in your system? What do you have with you that you can sell? Give me all those numbers. Once we have that, we break them down into how much money they need to make a month, how much money they need to make a week, a day, an hour. Then we say, okay, you have to make this an hour, this a week, this a month. What programs and what services do you have that can get you there? Now they're going to see the difference of different programs they might offer, or they might just have to come up with a new one. Right? So then once we see that, it's like, okay, so these 3 programs are going to be able to get you there. Let's focus on those 3 and let's put the other ones to the side for now.
Right.
So they don't get overwhelmed, because as what I've seen is entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, they have so many services, they have so many things they can give that it just becomes a ball of what do I even do?
Right. They start just like throwing everything. They're like, I have 15 things. Let's hope they all sell. And then they're not putting it. you can't put 100% of effort behind 15 things. Everything gets too much of a fraction. So,
yes, exactly.
All right.
Just simplifying their mind.
That makes sense. And then what do you do? We talked before about somebody who they start to make these changes, right? They start to realign their business. They start to hire people and then they get nervous. Then they're like, "Ooh, maybe I need to like bring it back." Like, how do you talk somebody through that? Because that can be, once people start, it's easy to look at it on paper and be like, I see the path, right? Like you look at a map and you see like, here's my start point, here's my end point. And if I just follow this road, I'm going to get there. If you hit a traffic jam and there's a car accident on the highway, there's nothing you can do about it. And it's like, do I go the other way? Do I sit here for 4 hours in traffic? And when you're in a car, and that metaphor, it's like, well, I'll just stay here. When it's, your money that you're watching go out the window, or your business that you've worked so hard to grow, and now you're like, oh my gosh, I have to hand it over to somebody else and trust them with like my baby. How do you talk someone, like what's the brains plus emotional like connection there to like help them through?
So in a way, is you're telling me the story. That's when I go more into like the somatic therapy, where I'm like, okay, I hear your story, share me your story. Then I start asking questions. Once I start asking questions, I also start seeing their body respond, because their body always responds in a way. Once I can connect their mind or their thoughts to what's going on in their body, we can start seeing like, what are we really feeling here? For example,
Right.
Like, I'm feeling afraid. I'm feeling my shoulders go up. Okay. Then I guide them on like, can we stay there? Once they start seeing like, the thing is, here's what happened. People have a story in their head. Once people have that story in their head, their body is going to respond emotionally. There's going to be an emotion. Then your body's going to respond to try to protect you, because that's what the body does. It's always going to try to protect you. But once I can get them to understand like that story that they're creating is not real.
Right.
That story is coming from a place that might not even be from them. They can start changing the way they relate to the actions that are happening, to the outcomes. So for example, the traffic jam. Do I go back? Do I stay in the car? How many times have you been there? What has happened during that time?
Right. Like you've never been stuck on the highway for the rest of your life. Like there was always a point where something changed.
Exactly. And just seeing like, oh, and once they hear that, oh, in themselves, they know there's another possibility. They know that what they were thinking is not real. Right. Then they can start taking action towards hiring people.
Right.
They want to grow their business. We all do. And we need to bring people. Yes, bringing people is going to bring lessons as much as it was growing the business without people. And so it's giving them that, helping them get that understanding that they already did something really hard, which is creating something that was inside of them and bringing it out to the world. That's difficult. Right. And now the other part is you need to bring people to grow that business more. And that's another learning curve. But you will find the right people. And so it's a beautiful thing when they start seeing like, oh, okay, so it's not a big deal. But what that creates is a domino effect. It's like, oh, what I think is big is actually not. Right.
And that's especially true for, folks who are working in the corporate world and they're leading a team and they're like, what's my boss going to think about this? Like, what's the CFO going to think about these numbers and these projections and whatever? And it's kind of like, well, you made up those worries in your head. Like you think they're going to think. I'm the type of person where I tend to always worry about what's the worst case scenario I'm going to encounter in this situation. And I try to like always be avoiding that. And I can talk myself out of going towards the thing that I know is like the good thing, because I get so hung up on like, oh, what's the worst thing? And like, what if the worst thing happens? I shouldn't even try this because heaven forbid. So I'm getting a lot out of this little interview here.
Right. And it's also like, okay. And that's the thing. It's like humans, we have a tendency of focusing what could go wrong for whatever reason. It's always like, what could go wrong? Like if I do this could go wrong. But we don't really focus on what could go right. And
Right.
and that's because emotions, like, and it's not our fault either. The world is a place of wonder, but also chaos.
Hmm.
The thing that's always on the news, on social media, the things that we're being fed the most are mostly fear based. I'm not going to say always,
Right.
but fear based. And they
Hmm.
have a tendency to catch the attention because fear is such a strong emotion, and
Yeah.
that gets embedded in our body. So when we think of like an event that might have happened to you in your prior jobs, something that happened with one of your team leaders because of an action that you did, maybe they didn't respond the proper way and they failed at being a leader,
Hmm.
but you take that with you. So
Right.
now what that does is that creates a story of, if I make that same decision, my team leader is going to react that way and I don't want to go through that. So I'd rather stay back and not create something that might work for the business.
Right.
And
Right.
that's another thing. It's like having a type A, type B decisions, ones that affects
Hmm.
the business and ones that don't, not really, but can actually increase or produce something for the business.
Hmm.
So,
Right. And I think, you talked earlier about being a team leader and being able to support your team, like not just getting your team to like hit their numbers, but like
mm,
having them know that when you're behind them 100% and when you care about them as a person, they're more likely to, put their hand up and be like, oh yeah, I'll take on that extra project. Oh yeah, I'll stay late tonight. I'll cover for somebody else because they feel like the give and take there and they know they're appreciated versus like, you don't care about me and what I'm going through at home. So why do I care if like your workload's heavy right now? Like, figure it out yourself. Um, so I can definitely see where your services can be so impactful, like across the board, from an entrepreneur, solopreneur to, the CEO of a company who's like, morale is down. How do I, like, we have high turnover. Why is everybody leaving after a year?
yes.
Well, everyone feels like a number and they don't even know if you know their name. Like, you got to make people feel cared for. So I
Yes,
definitely see how all of this can be so integrated into like any situation.
absolutely. And I think a lot of business focuses on, which they should, on the income, on the profit that they get. However, who helps you get that profit? Who helps you make the profit?
Right.
These are your people. So my focus is, a lot of it is like like employee training. Like how can we make them? How can we get the team leaders and the bosses to bring along the team members, the employees, to connect to their mission and their vision? Which,
Hmm.
what that's going to do, you just said, it's going to increase the revenue. Is going to increase. Is going to You're going to be able to scale your business a lot more because you have people behind you supporting those goals.
Right.
So
And also,
it's,
when you take a look at for, large companies, especially, but even actually probably small businesses even more, if you have a team that's constantly turning over, it costs so much money to hire new people, train new people. Like, you lose months of productivity
mhm.
versus keeping an employee in place who knows their job, can do it really well, and they're happy to stay because not only will they take on extra, work a little harder, like be really gung ho about your business, you don't have to take 6 months when they leave to like find somebody new, train them up.
Mhm.
Um, and so the value of making sure your team is happy is more than just the bottom line. Are we bringing in X dollars of revenue? It's like you're not losing revenue by
Yeah,
having to train somebody all over again every year and a half or whatever it is.
yeah. I mean, you said it right there, and so it's about bringing that awareness to people as well. What it does, not only does it increase revenue, but also saves expenses.
Mm-hmm. For all the business minded folks who they need to see those numbers on the bottom line.
Yeah.
Um, So then one of the things you talked about earlier is that, as you're talking your clients through possibly a difficult situation or something that could be stressful, you're really monitoring their body language too, right? Like, are they tensing up? Does talking about something seem to relax them? Like, where are we going here? So it seems like, you know, a lot of your work at one point was probably done in person. Now with the advent of video conferencing and, especially after COVID, that became like so ubiquitous, we do everything
Mhm.
virtually now. Your business probably like started booming, I would assume, and making it a lot easier for you to take on remote clients that you didn't have to be sitting across from. And, you know, with Accomplishr, we are a platform where you can be hosting a webinar with multiple people. You can do like one to many. We have our Book Now feature where you can be doing like one-on-one video chats. And then we've also got like all our content features with the blogs and emails and all of that. So have you found that being able to do your business remotely through video and like using platforms like Accomplishr is helpful?
Absolutely. I mean, what you guys are doing is you guys are bringing not only, let's call them experts, but you also have people that are seeking that knowledge into one platform. It's like an Instagram, let's say.
Yeah.
But focusing on different topics. So you guys are bringing people together, understanding that in order for you guys to bring somebody there, they have to go through a process of identifications. You guys do an interview with them as well. And then you guys also bring people together, like matchmaking. So that's important as well, because for me as a business owner, you're taking that pressure, having to promote myself all the time, and just having it in a platform where you guys can do that for me. And you also bring in other people that might benefit from what I do. Bring us together in a place where it's safe. They know if they pay me, it's not a scam.
Right.
It's verified. And also I know if somebody that is paying me is somebody that is looking for my type of knowledge. And I don't have to go through the process of, is this the right fit? Is it not the right fit? Because they already have seen me. So
yeah. And one of the things we find too is we might have somebody on the platform who maybe they're an HR person, right? And they're looking to speak with another HR expert or thought leader, and they're attending a fireside chat, which is our one-to-many. But then they come across a blog post you wrote, and they're like, oh, you know what? This is actually also in line with something, like maybe it's not a fit for their whole company. They don't want to bring their whole company on to talk, but like they just as a one-on-one, and people have that opportunity to kind of like, in like that, like you said, like that social network kind of way, find things they might not have even known they were looking for, because they read your blog post. They're like, oh, that really resonates. And then they subscribe to your blog post because they're like, I want to see what he has to say every single week or whatever, however often you're posting. We have some very prolific posters who are posting like every day. And we have some people who are just like once a week, when the spirit moves them, like once a month, they like pop in and they're like, oh, hey, here's my update. But we're helping people to like find things that they maybe didn't even know they were looking for, because I don't know what I would search for if I was looking for you and being like, I have this mental block, and you know what I mean? Like, how do you search for that? Unless it's kind of put in front of you a little bit or recommended to you by somebody. Because if you just search business coach, you're going to get a million results. And then you have to sift through them to be like, who's the right one? What's the right fit? Does this person's personality and method match with my personality and method? And so we are trying to make that easier for everybody by like you said, like matching people up and giving them the opportunity to like read all the content in one place and book that one-on-one, or book sit in on a fireside chat where they can kind of just observe if they need to observe, or if someone's doing a promotional webinar or a paid webinar, like whatever. We have a lot of different ways to help people figure out what they need.
Right. And you guys are making it simple, because that's one of the things is like, we are so overwhelmed with information that when we go to a website, when we go to a landing page, there's just a lot of information, and we don't even know these people either. And so we take a step back. We're like, okay, that's not for me. Right. But in reality, that could have helped them. So what you guys are doing is it's a page where people can see my information, people can see blogs, people can see my activity there, and then they can follow me based on what I put out. And then when they're ready, they can book, which is super simple to book too.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that I know from my freelancing life is it's like, all right, what payment processor do I want to use? What calendar am I going to use? I have to link up these two calendars because I have different things going on. And our founder was like, there's got to be a better way, like that like infomercial from the 80s type of thing. Like there has to be an easier way for this to just all like live in one place. And so that's what we're trying to do, is take the like stress out of it for everybody, for our expert side, for our member side, just like make it easy and give people the opportunity to learn without being stressed out by learning. Because then nobody's going to want to learn.
You got it.
All right. So I know that you have a hard stop. And so
Yes.
I asked all my questions. So I will let you go. And I would encourage everybody to check you out. You are on Instagram at Raven Maite, and that is RavenMayte. And I'll link that in the show notes. So they can all check you out on your Instagram. You are posting a lot there. And also, of course, they can check out your Accomplishr profile, which I will link in our show notes as well. And they can book a one-on-one session with you if they would like to learn more about how you can help them.